Imagine waking up to find your country is broke. The money in your pocket is losing value by the hour. Banks are shut. The president appears on national television and announces that every single private bank in the country is now property of the state. Your savings, frozen. Your future, uncertain. Uncertain. That was a reality for millions of Mexicans on September 1st, 1982, when a proud, ambitious nation collapsed under the weight of its own debts and declared itself bankrupt. Just a few years earlier, Mexico was a rising star, an oil giant in the making. International banks in New York, London, and Frankfurt couldn't lend it money fast enough. The government borrowed massively, confident that soaring oil revenues would pay for everything. Politicians spoke with pride about independence from U.S. dominance, about Mexico leading the developing world into a new era. But history has a cruel sense of timing. In the late 1970s, the world was in turmoil. The U.S. was drowning in inflation. When Paul Volcker took over the Federal Reserve, he made it his mission to crush that inflation, even if it meant raising interest rates to painful heights. From Mexico, which had borrowed billions in U.S. dollars at variable rates, this was a time bomb. Every rate hike made Mexico's debt more expensive, while every drop in oil prices cut its income. At home, the government projected .com. President José López Portillo insisted Mexico's future was bright. Oil was the new gold, and Mexico had plenty. The vision was simple. Borrow now, invest in growth, and pay it all back later. It has the same logic that fuels every bubble in history. Tomorrow's revenue will always cover today's spending. And just like every bubble, nobody wanted to hear the warning signs. By 1981, those signs were everywhere. Oil prices began to slide. Mexico's revenues shrank overnight, just as its debt payments soared. Inflation crept up, and nervous investors started moving their money abroad. Billions of dollars simply left the country, hidden in Miami real estate or Swiss accounts. López Portillo responded with bravado, famously declaring he would defend the peso like a dog. But history doesn't forgive empty promises. The breaking point came in August 1982. Mexico's finance minister flew to New York and delivered the news no creditor wanted to hear. Mexico could no longer pay its debt. A 3-month moratorium was announced. Mexico was, in effect, bankrupt. For ordinary Mexicans, the crisis wasn't about bond spreads. It was about walking into a store and finding prices had doubled. It was about watching your life savings evaporate in real time. Then came the shock no one expected. On September 1st, during his final State of the Union address, López Portillo stunned the nation. Live on television, he declared that all private banks were being nationalized. Overnight, every Mexican bank became state property. Along with the takeover came strict controls. Mexicans could no longer freely buy or sell dollars. The president said this was to stop the speculators who had betrayed the nation. Out on the streets, people froze in disbelief. Imagine hearing your leaders say that your bank account, your paycheck, your savings, your mortgages now in the hands of the government. For foreign investors, it confirmed their worst fears. Mexico was not only broke, but unpredictable. The peso collapsed further. Inflation roared. De 1980 segundos sin Mexico. Still remember das la década perdida. The lost decade. An entire generation grew up under broken promises, economic contraction, and declining living standards. And here's the uncomfortable truth. This isn't just Mexico's story. It's a global pattern that repeats. Countries borrow heavily in good times, convinced the boom will last forever. They dismiss the warning signs. Then, when interest rates rise or commodity prices fall, the crash comes swiftly. The wealthy move their money out. The middle class gets trapped, and the poor pay the highest price. Think this is just history. In 2008, the world watched as U.S. and European banks teetered on collapse. Governments stepped in with bailouts, but ordinary people paid the price. In 2013, Cyprus froze bank accounts and seized deposits to stabilize its system. The lesson is universal. Money is trust. When people believe their currency is stable and their banks are safe, the system works. When that belief cracks, no law or decree can stop the panic. López Portillo thought he could save Mexico by seizing the banks. Instead, he destroyed the very confidence that makes any financial system function. You can nationalize buildings and seize vaults, but you can't force people to trust you. For Americans and Europeans, this story is a mirror. You've seen wealth evaporate in stock market crashes, housing bubbles, and inflation that eats your paycheck. And you've seen how quickly politicians shift blame. The pattern is always the same: pride, denial, collapse, and pain. Mexico tried to defend the peso like a dog. In the end, the peso drowned, and its people paid the price. The question for us is simple. When the next crisis comes sanded, will we recognize the warning signs? Or will we once again learn the hard way? If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.